Now, the Ministry for Primary Industries has found the chemical glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in products like Roundup, in 20% of honey sampled recently across the country. Manuka for hundreds of dollars a jar overseas is this sort of news is harmful to our honey industry. Joining us to discuss this and, of course, some more positive news around great innovation in honey is CEO for Apiculture New Zealand, Karen Kos. Good evening, Karen, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sarah. Nice to be with you.
There's been a lot of activity across the board, but let's start with this news. I actually took a gasp when I heard it on the radio on Monday morning. Is it of grave concern?
Look, of course, it's of concern to our industry, to our beekeepers, to our sort of processors. But look, we do, and we are aware of this issue, and beekeepers and processors are increasingly aware of how to manage the issue as much as possible as well. So, for example, beekeepers will be regularly talking to their landowners, to farmers, about spray timetables, about making sure they can either move the boxes or just be aware of when spray's happening so they can manage the risk. And equally, a lot more of our honey processors and our market producers are now just testing for it and just undertaking really rigorous testing to check in and make sure that it's not prevalent and it's not it's not there in the honey. But it's a wider issue than just beekeepers. It really is quite a big issue for us to manage.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I really wanted to highlight it on the show, so that our hill country and high country sheep and beef farmers, particularly watching Sarah and listening to Sarah's Country, can actually take this on board. Because we were discussing in the editorial meeting Farmers Weekly on Monday about an assumption that a lot of hives are far away from places where there would be spraying programs, but not so much.
It's particularly true with manuka. A lot of our manuka hives are actually helicoptered into remote areas where, frankly, there wouldn't be any pesticides. You wouldn't be seeing any residues around the place. But we also have a thriving industry that's grown, and there's hundreds of thousands of hives around the country. So there are going to be times when this happens.
Absolutely. I would love to get on to the Innovation Award winners at Field Days, and one of them included a company called Hivesite. This is automatic chemical-free varroa mite treatment. I thought that would be a nice segue away from glyphosate. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You must be so proud of this type of innovation.
Look, I think that's a really wonderful innovation, and we were excited to see this. And it's really about looking at alternatives to chemical treatments to varroa, and it's looking at the hive and the heating processes in the hive. So it's got some very good science behind it. It does need to be tested, but anything that helps us, I guess, lessen the need for treatments, for varroa treatments, and that's less cost for us, for the industry. We're really excited about it, and we're looking forward to seeing how the experiment and how the innovation will go. So there's a bit of time in it, but I think it's a great innovation.
I do have to bring up with you the story that was on Farmers Weekly, which is showing a bit of tension between yourselves and New Zealand beekeeping. What seems to be going on there?
Look, I think it's, we've got an industry that's growing rapidly. We've got Apiculture New Zealand as the national peak body that's set across not just beekeepers, but processors, marketers and suppliers. And so you still also have some of the smaller organisations around that, like New Zealand Beekeeping, which are focused on the smaller beekeeping operations. So I think with the growth of the industry, where things have headed, there is always going to be a little bit of tension. But, that's not to say we don't work together too. So we are working together on some new research opportunities, and also just on some issues that we're working together with, for example, verification, better audit systems with MPI. So, yes, there's a bit of tension at times, but ultimately I think we have the best interests of beekeepers at heart, and that should always be our focus, and it certainly is APNZ's focus.
Excuse me. And from a representative body, how is things going with regards to our intellectual property for manuka overseas?
Well, that's very exciting. There is a new charitable manuka charitable trust that's set up, that's being developed and set up by iwi. Industry is involved in the trust, obviously supporting the trust, and they're actually launching tonight at Parliament, so we'll be going to that function. But that's an important milestone for us to absolutely protect the term manuka coming from New Zealand, a great milestone, and we're really excited about the potential for that. It's a long road to hoe though, trade certification, it's a big job, and I think we've certainly got the right groups and everyone around it supporting it.
Fantastic. No, some great news happening there, and of course some challenges as always, but I'm sure running an industry body, there's also a developing amazing market that's growing, and you should be super proud of it. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us as Karen Kos, the CEO for Apiculture New Zealand.
This is Sarah's Country.